Hey guys, I'm Gene Delasala, president of Audioholics.
And I'm Hugo Rivera, vice president of marketing. How are you, Gene?
Hugo, you ask me this all the time, and I'm going to always tell you I'm kicking butt, man. I'm loving it.
We love it when we get in front of the camera and help our YouTube people and all the people that go ahead and visit our channel. Thank you for the support. And we're here to go ahead and help. And today we bring some gifts.
Excellent.
Today
Let's hand them out.
I'll tell you what, we're going to cover 10 tips that will help to improve your home theater. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start reading our 10 tips. And no, we don't script this stuff, but I didn't want to memorize all these. So I'm going to read them.
Okay. Enlighten me.
Tip number 1, Gene, is check connections.
That's the most obvious, but it's often the most overlooked.
True.
Okay? I've been to so many people's houses where they have a 5.1 or a 7.1 setup. I go to sit down and watch a movie, and they're like, "Doesn't it sound great?" I go, "Yeah, except that speaker's not working." And they're like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." And you go and check, and the wire's disconnected, or a subwoofer. My sister-in-law, I got her 2 subs in her house.
Mm-hmm.
Every time the cleaning lady comes, she knocks the power cord off of it.
Oh, man. Okay.
So she never knows her subwoofer's out. So I
Yeah.
had to go and put electrical tape around it so it wouldn't be disconnected again.
Yeah, so definitely check your connections. Get to know your home theater, I think once you know your home theater, you will know just by listening if
True.
it is off. If
Check
something's
your
off.
connections, check your polarity, make sure your speakers are wired all in phase.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the audio EQ system says, sometimes the audio EQ systems can sometimes identify a speaker out of phase incorrectly, especially 3-way designs, because the 3-way designs, some of them, you have to invert the polarity of the tweeter or the mid-range to get the acoustical summation of the speaker all in phase.
Right.
So the audio EQ systems don't know how to deal with that. So just realize, don't go by the audio EQ, go by the actual connections from your amplifier to your speakers.
Exactly. All right. So with that said, moving on. Number 2, speaker positioning. Very important.
We lecture about this all the time, but I go into people's home theater rooms and they have the left speaker on the floor and the right speaker up somewhere near the ceiling and the center channel on the floor firing straight ahead.
We're dealing with sound waves, people. Try to aim them, please.
Try to aim them. Speakers are very directional. You want that direct path of sound going to the listening area.
Mm-hmm.
The only exception would be the bouncy house speakers where you're bouncing them pretty much anywhere because there's no guidelines.
I tried to get Gene off the topic, but it just keps on coming back.
I try to get out, but they keep pulling me back in.
It's a paradox!
Oh man, we're gonna get some comments on that.
All right.
What's next?
So the next one is speaker configuration.
Here we go again with the bass management. How many times do I have to say bass management for a reason? Why have a little speaker, 6.5-inch 2-way, play full range bass when it can't do it?
Mm-hmm.
You're taxing your amplifier, you're taxing your woofers and your speakers, you're adding distortion, and quite frankly, you're getting a worse overall response because the subwoofer should be doing that.
Yeah, use the speakers for what they're meant to.
So in reality, in 90% of the cases, I tell you to put all your speakers, set them to small with an 80 hertz crossover, get multiple subs, and use your bass management.
Exactly. Moving on, Gene. Speaker calibration.
Again, you got the placement good, you got your bass management good, but it's all to naught if you don't have your channel trims set correctly and your delays set correctly. You could use the auto button with the microphone, the auto EQ. That will get you pretty accurate levels and distances for all your subs and all your speakers and your subs. And then maybe turn off the equalization portion of that afterwards. Or you could use a good old Radio Shack SPL meter, or whoever meter you get, and a tape measure. I'm sure people have tape measures laying around the house.
I sure do.
So there you go, guys. Always get your levels checked and your delays checked. And then check it again in 6 months, because you never know if you have kids.
Oh yeah.
And they get a hand on the remote control.
That's it.
Your center channel is going to be boosted or taken down, or the subs are going to go up. They're having a house party when you're not around. You don't know what's happening, okay? So unless you have webcams all over the house spying on them, check your calibrations, and more importantly, if the receiver has the option to lock your setup. Because whether it's a kid, the mother-in-law, the cleaner, or the Mexican illegal, For the Donald Trump supporters. Sorry, I digress again. Get your channels, get your setup locked so nobody messes with it.
Yeah, that's solid advice. Trust me. I don't know. Plus, also, you know, when you have a remote control, people just seem to just love to play around with the remote control.
And they'll keep playing until they get sound. You know, I've had situations where my own sister-in-law, her solution to not hearing the sound was to keep putting the volume all the way to the max. And then when she actually found the play button, it blew the whole house out.
Ouch. Yeah. That reminds me of Marty in Back to the Future when he has that that big
Yes.
setup from Doc and he goes like this, bang, and
Yeah.
he just flew out.
That's exactly what happened in our house,
That's
man.
exactly what I envisioned.
Many years ago, but it's always right here, fresh in the memory.
Surprising that you still have ears.
I wasn't in the room, she was.
Okay. She's the one that has hearing aids now,
Yes,
huh?
yes.
Okay. Well, next one in line is seat optimization.
You know, people don't realize this often, but your seats are actually an equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
It's called positional EQ. If you put the seats in a bad location of the room, you're going to get bad results. You put the
Absolutely.
seats in a good location of the room, you're going to get good results. As a general guideline, we tell you to keep your seats away from the wall, away from the back wall, away from the side walls. You know, I usually say the 1/4 rule placement.
Mhm.
So at 1/4 of the room length, you keep it away from that area. You kind of want the seats more towards the center of the room, a little bit back from the center of the room.
Mhm.
That makes a huge difference, guys. If you measure it and you get a measurement system, you can see just moving the seats around drastically changes the bass. It just changes how things sound. I like having my front row as close to the front of the room as possible because I like more of the direct sound from the main speakers because I'm more of a 2-channel guy.
Mm-hmm. I think what people need to realize is that, you know, we're playing again with sound waves over here. So what we want to do is that we want to connect the sound waves to the ear, you know?
Yes.
So, I mean, if you kind of like visualize that and you think of sound waves like in a graphical manner in
Mhm.
your head, that will help you already with the positioning of the seat and not having, you know, things in a bad way.
Especially the high frequencies, which operate more like
Mhm.
ray optics. You know, it's
Mhm.
more like
Yes.
at the very high frequencies, like shining a flashlight. If you're putting a table in front of a tweeter, and you know you're trying to, or in front of a flashlight, that light's not going to get to the area you want it to go.
That's a great analogy. Good one. Moving on, we have source setup.
That's another one that people forget. Okay,
Mhm.
whether it's your cable box or your Blu-ray player, and this is so disconcerting to me because I've been again to people's houses where they've had set up everything pretty well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, check this out, I got this Blu-ray, doesn't it sound great? And I'm like, well, I go, it sounds okay considering you're listening to it in Pro Logic, when it's in fact a Dolby True HD disc, because they don't have the output set to bitstream,
Understood.
okay? Or they don't even use an HDMI cable in some cases. The older DVD players, they're just using analog connectors.
Analog, yeah.
So when you got your Blu-ray player, make sure you have it set for bitstream. Make sure you turn off all the dynamic compression stuff because that just kills your dynamic range,
Mhm.
okay? So do that not only with your Blu-ray player, but do that with your Fios or your Bright House box too. Because you could go into the menus, it is set, I think it defaults to stereo instead of surround.
I believe so, yeah.
So make sure you switch that to either surround or 5.1 or you know whatever it has. Even your little those little smart boxes that you get from the Amazon Fire or the Apple TV, those things all have setup to make sure you do multi-channel surround sound and make sure you turn off the compression if there's that option.
Mm-hmm. It's good advice right there. Moving on, we have display calibration.
You know, that's another thing, and years ago it used to tell, oh, you need to get someone that's ISF certified to come to the house and they have to tint your house like they're going to treat it for termites.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of it, some of that was pretty valid back then, but I'm telling you, displays have gotten so freaking good now. Projectors have gotten so good. They have so much light output, okay? They're generally pretty damn accurate, especially, I have an Epson projector that's THX certified. You put it in THX mode and the color balance is pretty much perfect. All I have to do is adjust the black level to meet the conditions of my room and I'm good to go. So what I would tell you is if you buy this brand new display, whether it's a projector or a TV, turn off all the auto processing crap because that's just like room correction. It's gimmicky. It could actually make things worse than better. get your display out of torch mode, okay? Get yourself a Spears and Munsell disc or an Avia disc, anything that allows you to set black level. Do it in the environment that you watch in. So I have 2 calibrations on my projector. I've got one that I watch in pitch black. That's with all the curtains closed, no light in the room. Then I have another one that I watch with regular lighting, okay? That way I can switch between the two depending on the environment we're watching in. And honestly, color temperature, I kind of do that with eye, okay? I always kind of lean more towards the cool temperatures. Those seem to be more accurate. You look at the flesh tones, put on a news channel, even hit pause on it, look at the flesh tones. Except with the exception of Donald Trump, who's always orange no matter what. You know?
Watch it, we're gonna get sued.
Oh, yes, unbelievable. So, set your color temperature based on flesh tone, get your black levels right, and you're like 90 to 95% there, guys. You don't have to TP your house. You don't have to call in NASA. You don't have to go crazy. I mean, you really don't. I'm sorry to say this to the guys that are pro calibrators out there, the guys that are buying the little eye sensors. Those eye sensors, just like a microphone in your room, they don't perceive.
They don't process.
They don't process like our eyes do, okay?
Absolutely not.
I've spent so much time with those eye sensors, and they were good for CRT displays, but they're not so great when you're dealing with front projection or, you know, the flat panel displays anymore. I just don't think that they're really necessary.
At the end, you have to trust yourself. I mean, look at the image and you'll know if the image is good or not.
And get a high def, man. Make sure you have a high def signal.
Totally.
Okay, stop watching 480i.
Please.
Stop buying a Bright House or a Fios box and plugging it in, you know, without HDMI, and then you're actually getting a 480i signal, and you're paying for high def, or you're watching worse. Worse. You have high def, you have all the connections, and you're watching the non-high def channel when you could just press the C button.
I knew you would say that.
Press the damn C button and put it in high def.
Yeah.
You're killing me.
Make sure that you have the proper channel, because the other channels are not high def.
1 second. Right here. See this? Right here. C. Press C. Make sure you're in the high def. Okay.
Watch it. We're fully armed. We will know.
You're firing at it yourself.
That's what I get for putting my guns, you see, in the
Yes.
wrong way.
So what's next? Are we done or what?
No, we're not done. We have some more over here.
Okay.
So the next one goes out to be improve room acoustics. Oh boy.
You know, you got to be careful with that because you could go 2 ways. You could go the way that most people are, is they try to put a home theater in a freaking bathroom or a church. Okay, you have all tile floors, glass walls, open to another room, and it just sounds a bit like a big echo mess.
Totally.
And home theater in those rooms, there's really nothing that's going to sound good unless you do something about it. And a lot of the stuff you can do is just ordinary things. You put a padded throw rug on the floor at the first reflection point.
Big difference already.
Heavy draped curtains.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thick padded furniture. Get a lot of furniture. Get some mass in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before you start going crazy with the acoustic treatments, I would suggest you get all of your living stuff in the room first, because that changes the acoustics of the room.
Totally changes the dynamics, and I can tell you because I completely remodeled the room from beginning to end. We stripped that thing down, and if you heard the acoustics when you have the concrete floor and you have like nothing on it, like no curtains or anything, it's an echo mess.
Yeah, and it's not going to sound good.
Mm-hmm.
If your voice doesn't sound good in a room, then your audio system's not going to sound good in a room.
Good rule of thumb, really. So yeah.
And that goes for the same if you overtreat a room and your voice sounds dead in that room, you're taking away the natural decay that really your brain wants to process. If you've got really good speakers that have similar off-axis characteristics as the primary response of the speaker, you want to preserve those reflections because precedent effect works. That reflection will integrate back to the primary sound at the listening area, and it'll give you a sense of spaciousness. It'll enhance the intelligibility. It'll give you a wider sound stage. Don't go and turn your room into an anechoic chamber.
Yeah, remember that the purpose of your home theater is to reproduce sound the way that it sounds like if the event will be happening live. Okay?
Right.
So don't try to, go ahead and do, like you said, turn your room into an anechoic chamber. That's not how real life sounds,
No, our brains did not evolve to listen to a room anechoically.
Exactly. So, very good point. Very good point. So definitely get your basics covered first before you go ahead and, you start treating the room.
Yep.
Moving on, we have improved room lighting.
The lighting in the room.
The lighting in the room, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want lightning.
Yeah, we don't want lightning.
Especially in Florida. We have plenty of that. Yeah, I mean, that goes back to with the display, what I was talking about with the displays. You want to control the lighting in your room. You want good lighting, okay? You want the ability when you're not watching a movie, you want to have some accent lighting. I have a riser platform that lights up underneath it. It's actually nice because if I have the room totally dark and people want to walk in and out and not trip over the riser, it doesn't mess with the light of the projector, but it gives you enough lighting on the floor where you can actually still see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to control the lighting in your room. If you want to have the best possible picture and even auditory experience, because if you have a lot of light in your room, it kind of distracts your brain.
Mm-hmm.
I always find, and this is purely subjective, I always find that my system sounds best when the lights are lowest. When I don't see what's going on and I just focus on the music, control your lighting, guys. Get the right background lighting if you're just listening to music, and eliminate any source of lighting that's going to pollute your image.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That will heighten your senses, I think, if you have the right lighting.
Yep.
Excellent. Finally, add cool props to your home theater.
You got it all set up, and now you need the finishing touches, and it's quite obvious if you watch this channel that we're huge Star Trek nerds. We love Star Trek. We got my Tribble over here. If you look around our theater room, I've got, Star Trek II, the Wrath of Khan back there. The whole room has a theme, okay? And it just invites people to come in. And I've got a bar over here so we can mix margaritas. We've got a popcorn machine, and it's just, I'm telling you guys, if you make the room kind of like a movie theater environment, you're going to have more of your friends over, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on the kind of company you keep.
Depending on your friends.
It just makes it more fun. To be creative. I went to one of our friends' house on our forum, and he's got the whole Terminator.
That's cool.
He's got this, the whole metal Terminator. He's got all the different kind of movie stuff. Really cool home theater. And it's like one of the best I've seen, just with all the props, and it really makes the finishing touches look great.
Yeah, I think that you definitely should pick a theme that you actually love and that you resonate with, and go to town. Have some fun with it,
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Well, with that said, if you guys have any tips, we would love to go ahead and hear it below. Maybe people are doing something that we didn't mention over here.
Yeah, let us know what we left off. If there's something else we want to include, then please comment below. We'd like to hear it.
Awesome. So with that said, we hope that you like this video. Feel free to share it. And definitely, like we just said, share any kind of tips you may have for us. And with that said, until next time, keep listening.